The McKoy Brothers at the World Karate Tournament. A comedy of errors. The McKoy brothers had been training for weeks. Well, some of them, at least. Ever since their father's death, the weight of keeping the family dojo's legacy alive had fallen on their young shoulders. After much convincing by Michael Jr., they reluctantly agreed to enter the World Karate Tournament in Tokyo, a prestigious event their father had always dreamed of them competing in. Despite their differences, the McKoy brothers stood together on the eve of the tournament. But what was meant to be a proud moment for their father's dojo quickly unraveled into a whirlwind of frustration, confusion, and complaints, each brother adding their own unique flavor to the chaos. Day 1. Robert's Fury. From the moment the brothers set foot in the arena, Robert, the eldest at 19, was seething. He hated everything about the tournament. The flashy displays, the loud announcements, and most of all, the cocky competitors from other dojos. With his perpetual scowl, Robert spent most of the time glaring at anyone who dared to make eye contact with him. "I can't believe we're wasting our time with these idiots," he growled under his breath, fists clenched as they entered the locker room. Every step he took was filled with anger. When it came time for his match, he entered the ring with one goal: to destroy his opponent. But Robert's temper got the best of him. Instead of focusing on technique, he attacked with wild aggression, throwing reckless punches and kicks. His opponent, calm and collected, sidestepped every move with ease. Within minutes, Robert was disqualified for unsportsmanlike conduct after charging at his opponent outside the boundaries of the ring. "Stupid rules," Robert yelled, storming off. "This tournament's rigged." Michael Jr., the try-hard underdog. Michael, 14, had a completely different problem. Despite his lack of natural talent, he had been training harder than anyone. He believed in the McKoy legacy and wanted to make his father proud, even if he wasn't the best fighter. When Michael entered the ring, his nervous energy was palpable. He tried to stay focused, remembering everything his sensei had taught him. But his opponent, a skilled and confident fighter from Brazil, made quick work of him. In his desperation to land a point, Michael fumbled his moves and ended up kicking the air so hard that he spun around and stumbled, accidentally scoring a point for his opponent. The crowd burst into laughter, and Michael's face turned crimson with embarrassment. I didn't mean to do that," he stammered, but the damage was done. His opponent quickly finished the match, leaving Michael to slink off the mat in defeat. Jaakson's confusion. Jaakson, the 12-year-old dreamer, had no idea what was going on. From the moment they arrived, he was completely lost. The sea of competitors, the rules, the forms, it was all a blur to him. While his brothers prepared for their matches, Jaakson wandered around the tournament floor, fascinated by everything but not really understanding what any of it meant. When it was finally his turn to fight, Jaakson stepped into the ring with a dazed expression, as if he had just woken up from a nap. His opponent, a disciplined young girl from Japan, bowed respectfully before the match. Jaakson blinked, confused, and awkwardly waved at her in response. The match was over before it even started. Jaakson stood frozen as his opponent executed a flawless series of moves, landing 3 clean points while he stood in place. By the time the referee declared the match over, Jaakson was still trying to figure out what had happened. "Well, I think I did okay," he said afterward, scratching his head. Jakob's endless complaints. Then there was Jakob, the youngest at 11, who complained from the moment they arrived until the moment they left. He complained about the long flight, the uncomfortable seats, the food at the tournament, the size of the locker room, and the temperature of the arena. When it came time for Jakob's match, he couldn't resist voicing his frustrations even in the ring. "This mat is too slippery," he muttered as he took his stance. "And why is it so hot in here?" His opponent, a boy his age from Germany, looked focused and ready, but Jakob wasn't paying attention. Instead, he spent the first few minutes of the match complaining to the referee about everything from the lighting to the way his opponent's GI looked. "I can't fight him. His belt's tied wrong," Jakob argued, his voice dripping with annoyance. Eventually, the referee had enough and told them to continue. The match ended quickly, with Jakob losing without much of a fight. He stormed off the mat, still grumbling. "This whole tournament is a joke." The aftermath. A lesson learned? As the tournament came to a close, the McKoy brothers sat together in silence, each nursing their own bruised egos. Robert fumed over his disqualification. Michael replayed his embarrassing mistake over and over in his head. Jaakson remained blissfully unaware of how poorly he'd done, and Jakob continued to gripe about everything from the tournament food to the bus ride back to the hotel. Despite the chaos and their many failures, something changed in the brothers that day. They may have been a dysfunctional group, each with their own flaws, but being at the tournament made them realize something important. They weren't ready to carry on their father's legacy, not yet. They had a long way to go, not just as fighters, but as brothers. In their own messy, imperfect way, they had learned a lesson. They didn't have to be like their father, and they didn't have to be perfect. But if they ever hoped to live up to the McKoy name, they'd need to work together, and maybe, just maybe, they'd get there someday. For now, though, the McKoy brothers left the tournament knowing they had a lot of growing up to do.